Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on martial politics. Today I will be discussing the 2022 United States Senate election in the state of Ohio, and I'm talking about this now since on July 1st, 4 days ago now, J.D. Vance announced he's running for United States Senator in Ohio. And basically the race is between the Republican primary. It's between Josh Mandel, Jane Timken, and then J.D. Vance. And there's like various other candidates, but they're not really that relevant. And it's going to be either Mandel, Timken, or Vance. I personally, if you know me on Twitter, of course, I support J.D. Vance out of these three, obviously. I mean, Josh Mandel and Jane Timken essentially represent the same thing. They're both trying to play towards Trump very desperately. Josh Mandel's really been he's gone even like further into being a complete sycophant for Trump. Um, he basically there's interviews that have been recorded of him is like he's like taking this America First. I'm gonna promote the America First agenda or whatever. It's a complete fraud, by the way. They're not, and like it's ridiculous. Cause how could you? Because he describes himself in an interview also as a fiscal conservative. How could you be America First and a fiscal conservative? Fiscal conservatism is exactly contrary against American, nationalism of any kind or America First. Um, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. So Josh Mandel, he's run for United States Senator in the past. He's the former treasurer in Ohio. And he in 2012 he ran against Sherrod Brown, and I think he lost. He lost by like 6 points or so. Yeah, exactly 6 percentage points. He he way underperformed Mitt Romney in the state. I think Mitt Romney lost it by like 2 or 3 points. He lost it by over double that margin. So he was a complete disaster as a candidate. He was basically like one of those Tea Party people, kind of, and he was, really into that movement. And he ran again in 2018, but then he withdrew for some reason. There's like something with his wife's health or whatever, but now he's running again because Rob Portman, who's one of the current senators from Ohio, he announced he's not running for re-election in 2022. So this means that the Republican primary is wide open. So you've had a lot of people that have joined, so it's actually a pretty chaotic primary, actually. And there's even more people who might even join. Matt Dolan, he formed an exploratory committee. Mike Turner, United States representative, he's expressed interest. And there's been a lot of people who've been brought up, but they declined. And there's also this man, I don't know that much about him, Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know how you pronounce that, but apparently he's a potential candidate. And there's been several endorsements made for candidates. So for Mike Gibbons, you have Rand Paul. So Mike Gibbons probably like more libertarian type. Definitely not going to support him. Josh Mandel, his endorsements are pretty concerning. He's endorsed by Mike Lee, one of the worst senators in the United States Senate. There's also just terrible interest groups like the Senate Conservatives Fund, which is just a establishment Republican organization. And yeah, like he's not. The endorsements, again, it just paints a bad image for Mandel. Bernie Moreno was endorsed by Rick Grinnell, which is pretty funny. Other than that, he's not really that significant. Jane Timken was endorsed by Steve Bannon, not supporting her. She's actually just. There was actually this article I had open over here from Pedro Gonzalez. I think I did mention this article in the video I made. Basically just says like how she's just, establishment garbage, and similar to Mandel, she's trying to play to like this Trump brand or whatever, because Trump did win Ohio by 8 percentage points in 2 consecutive elections. So I guess politically that makes sense, because Trump has accelerated that trend towards the right. So he seems to be a popular figure in the state. Um, Timken also wanted to like rename some river in sorry, not river, sorry, lake in Ohio after after Donald Trump, and it was just like pathetic garbage. She's also formally supported John Kasich. I think it was only until like 2020 or actually. So she's trying to like just trying to maneuver around and trying to get trying to win. She said she was gonna get Trump's endorsement a couple months ago, but that did not happen. And now she's losing to Mandel, and she's in terms of the two, like they're pretty much identical in terms of policy, and what they stand for really. Um, so there's a candidate I support, JD Vance. Um, he wrote this book called Hillbilly Elegy, which I've read excerpts of. I can't do it justice, so I encourage y'all maybe read it yourself. Uh, he was rumored to run for senator in 2018, but ultimately did not. But this time around, 2022, the 2022 Senate race, he is going to be running. He got a bunch of support from Peter Thiel. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Gave $10 million to a super PAC to elect him. Um, and I think that he will win. I mean, like right now, he like just announced like not even a week ago. So there's still, and like the primaries, I think it's in like May or June next year. So there's still a lot of time left to, see how the campaign goes. So a lot can happen in between now and then. Um, like I know that like a lot of people on there's been a lot of smears against JD Vance recently too. Um, if you just Google his name on Google and you just look at news articles, you'll see like a bunch of hit pieces against him. And if you look at his tweets on Twitter, actually no, don't even look at it. I can't even like look at like any Republican figures' comments on or replies on Twitter anymore because of just all the replies. It doesn't even matter like who it is. Like it could be a person like who I actually like hate, like for example Jim Jordan or other people like him. But it's just like the people in the comments are just so insufferable. But just anyways, there's been a lot of hit pieces against JD Vance. People saying he's only going to get 4% or whatever, which makes zero sense. Especially when he has such a massive fundraising advantage over all the other candidates right now. So JD Vance is kind of running as an actual like populist, which is nice actually. I wish we did see more people like this in the country. I do think I have like certain questions about like what he thinks about you know like um like healthcare, for example. I know on immigration, like he's similar to my position. And on well, pretty much, I'm pretty much aligned with him on maybe like 90-95% of issues. So he's kind of like he's right wing on social issues, but he's like center left or left on economic issues, which is good. So under here shows endorsements. Peter Thiel, who I mentioned, gave him a lot of money to the super PAC. And then also Tucker Carlson. He was on Tucker Carlson's show, I believe on the day he announced. And Tucker Carlson basically essentially endorsed him, so that's why he's listed under here. So polling shows basically Mandel holding like a huge lead, but in my opinion, I don't really think this is gonna last that long. And I think that as the campaign goes on, and this is also another thing. I really hope that Vance actually like aggressively goes against these people. Um, that's what I'm kind of concerned about. I really hope he does. He's more aggressive against these people because I mean they're all insufferable and terrible. And I think that if he can make an effective message about like how these people actually don't even represent the actual interests of the American people, and this America First agenda, then I think that can be a very effective message to play in a state like Ohio. And I think that JD Vance is actually uniquely positioned in a state like Ohio because he has that working class background. He wrote that book Hillbilly Elegy, um, which was basically used by the mainstream media. Is like how did Trump win this election? Blah blah blah. So I think he can really tap into. I think he can make like a very effective grassroots movement too. I just think that he needs to be more aggressive. I think. I mean, the campaign has just started, but I don't. I have a feeling that he's going to be like more passive against other candidates. So I want him to be more aggressive, and I want him to actually make an effective message. For his campaign. So there's actually a clip I will show here from a speech that he made at the National Conservative conference thing. It was like I think it's like in 2019, summer 2019, when things are actually normal. So I will show that video now, and then I will be right back.
I want to tell a story, one of the most heartbreaking stories I've heard since my book came out. It was a woman I met in southeastern Ohio, which is really ground zero for the opioid problem and so many of the other social problems that all of us care about in this country. And she was telling me about a young kid she had, a young patient who had become addicted to opioids. He was 8 years old and he was already addicted to Percocets. And the way that this kid became addicted to opioids is that he would do drug runs for his family. He would sometimes do delivery runs for his family who were drug addicts and sometimes bought and sold on the side. And because they didn't have a whole lot of money, if he made a successful drug run, they would actually give him a Percocet as a reward. That was how this kid, at the tender age of 8, became addicted to opioids. Now, I think there's a tendency in our politics on the right to look at this kid and say, it's a tragedy what's happened to him, but it's fundamentally a tragedy that political power can't touch. His parents need to make better decisions. This child, God willing, needs to make better decisions when he grows up. But I think that ignores the way in which human beings actually live their lives, the cultural and economic and environmental context in which this kid grows up. It ignores the fact that, for example, this kid lives in a community that has too few spare dollars to spend on a kid, but has too many spare opioids. That is a political problem. That is something that we decided to do using political power. We allowed commercial actors to sell these drugs into our communities. We allowed our regulatory state to do and approve these drugs and to do nothing when it was very clear that these substances were starting to affect our own communities. That was a political choice, and political power can actually fix it. That kid lives in a community where even if he makes good choices later on in life, he lives in a place where there are virtually no good jobs for a kid of his educational status and his social class. If he wants to earn a decent wage, if he wants to work in a good job, those jobs in his community have largely gone overseas thanks to forces of globalization that we unleashed because of political choices. We made the choice that we wanted that kid to be able to buy cheaper consumer goods at Walmart instead of have access to a good job. And maybe that was a defensible choice. I don't think it was, but it was a choice, and we have to stop pretending that it wasn't. Globalization and the damage that it wreaks and the benefits that happen are political choices. And as this kid ages, if we want this kid to live the American dream, he needs good jobs. He needs to live in a community that isn't ravaged by opioid problems. He certainly needs to make good individual choices and exercise personal responsibility. I don't think conservatives should discard our focus on that. But as he ages, he will encounter other circumstances and other environments that are influenced, again, by the political choices that we make. Now, I've been blown away by some of the research that I've seen in the past year that talks about the way in which pornography warps young adolescent minds and how they interact with their environment and how they interact with their own sexuality. We know that young adults are marrying less, they're having less children, they're engaging in healthier and productive relationships less and less. And we know that at least one of the causes of this is that we have allowed, under the guise of libertarianism, pornography to seep even into our youngest minds through the channels of the internet. Again, we made a political choice that the freedom to consume pornography was more important than the public goods like marriage and family and happiness. We can't ignore the fact that we made that choice, and we shouldn't shy away from the fact that we can make new choices in the future.
So you saw in that clip, actually Vance talked about actually an issue that I had mentioned on this channel, which is basically that uh, people on the right, when we're in power, we should actually use the power we've gained in order to push for issues, push for solutions to issues we actually care about and can make very positive changes to. Basically his overarching message for his speech was basically to go beyond, this libertarian mindset of being restrained with using government power, and basically, succumbing to these ridiculous ideas of, oh, you can't use government power, it's like tyranny, or no, it's the typical libertarian nonsense. And I think that message is like, it's like I'm like I literally argue for that. So I mean, it's like no question why I support Dewey Vance. So there are like multiple articles that were written. Also, I will put a link to like that video I showed, and I'll also put a link to his full speech, his like Senate announcement speech. I just wanted to put one video, so I didn't want to put something from his speech too, but I just put it from that video because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's better in my opinion. But I mean, I hope in the future, I hope that he just doesn't, like, I hope he doesn't hire terrible people on his campaign. They advise him to do terrible things. And there's been a lot of people saying, oh, he's gonna, like, I saw this tweet, he's gonna be like, oh, he's gonna be the Andrew Yang of the Ohio Senate Republican primary. And if you guys don't know, Andrew Yang ran for New York City mayor, and he lost. He got in fourth place. I think he got like 11% of the vote, roughly, and he basically got annihilated. Even though he blew, like, I think he had like a 10 or maybe 15 point lead at one point, and he completely blew it. So that's what people are gonna say, like, oh, it's gonna happen to J.D. Vance again. It's like all this weird stuff that I was talking about before. So it says J.D. Vance joins already chaotic Ohio Senate primary. So he basically just touched on, like, what he wants to be an actual fighter for, regular people in Ohio. He did not, in the speech, he did not name candidates like Mendel or Timken specifically, which again is a sign of the criticism that I had before, the worry I had before, that maybe he won't be aggressive enough against the other candidates when they're really just complete garbage heaps. So JD Vance he's been like, I'm pretty sure he's been planning this run for months, and he's been on Fox News a lot, specifically on Tucker Carlson's show, who essentially endorsed him on July 1st. But yeah, like, he's been preparing this for a long time. I don't want him. I want him to be a strong candidate, and not to not actually attack the other candidates who are really a complete disaster. So it says here, other candidates have already been off and running for months, raising money and angling for former President Donald Trump's backing in the race, though the former president has yet to endorse and name-checked several of the candidates at his rally in the state last week. the race includes Josh Mandel, the former state treasurer who lost the 2012 race, I mentioned, Jane Timken, the former state party chair, and businessman Bernie Moreno and Mike Gibbons. Moreno was endorsed by um, he was endorsed by oh my god, I forgot his name. Uh, sorry, Rick Grinnell. And Mike Gibbons was endorsed by Rand Paul. So I mean, they're not even that relevant, anyways. Uh, so this is one Republican strategist who requested anonymity, a nominee, to speak frankly, called it anybody's game because of the number of candidates. Now that JD Vance has entered the race, it is more unclear than ever who has the advantage, the strategist said. Uh, so yeah, I actually don't think Trump is gonna endorse anyone in this race. In my opinion, actually, I think that Trump's just gonna let it play it out. There's been, of course, a lot of talk recently about who's gonna run for president in 2024, and I really don't want it. There's been a lot of disputes that have happened over that. I actually, unlike many, I actually do not think he's gonna run. I think he's really just doing this stuff now for to like excite people for whatever nonsense in there, and then all these like boomers are going to give him money or whatever. I think that's just what he's doing now. He's not trying to actually like run for president. I think he's just kind of grifting right now. I mean, that's what he's always done. So I think he just really wants more fundraising money because like he started all these like save. I think it was like Save America pack or something, and now he's holding rallies. So, I mean, like, yeah, I don't think so. He's not ready for president. If he does, save us, save us. But yeah, anyways, this was just the last thing I was gonna show. Tucker Carlson fawns over ex-Trump critic J.D. Vance's populist campaign for U.S. Senate. So J.D. also a lot of stuff that's come about J.D. Vance is like he supported um Evan McMullen in 2016 and blah blah blah. Actually, I literally don't care. I don't even care at all. Like, how is that even relevant? How is something he did almost 5 years ago even relevant at all? So it's just like they're trying to dig up a lot of stuff about him. I mean, like Vance has like he's a nice guy. He's not like that controversial really, except for like all these neoliberals who've been spreading propaganda about him about like spreading race hatred or whatever, some nonsense like that. And basically just like he's basically the tweets that they're talking about is like these ridiculous things that he said, like like he saw like a thing for Evan McMullen, like a poll of him leading in Utah or something, like, oh yeah, I like this, I'll support this, and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's just like it's not even that relevant. But I think with also, by the way, Tucker Carlson is still the highest rated TV news host, actually, still. Even I think he got that like maybe last summer, like the last summer a year ago. He was getting tremendous views on like YouTube and whatever, and on cable news. But yeah, I think, and also just the last thing I'm gonna show of the predicted page, and it shows who will win the 2022 Ohio Republican Senate primary. And actually, let me refresh it because it might have changed. Actually, no. So this has been going back and forth a lot recently. It shows Mandel with 36%, basically, yes, he will win. 28% for Timken, and then 27% for Vance. So essentially, these two are tied. He's leading. But I'm just hoping for actual concise voting, like an actual polling for this race, which I think will show that Vance, I think he has at least, I think he's like maybe 20% in the race. Definitely ahead of Timken. Mandel probably like got cut down a bit. There's probably a lot more undecideds now. That's just my own opinion. I may be wrong. I might be like completely wrong, but I think that I think that out of these three candidates, I think it just makes the most sense that Vance wins, especially with his name recognition from his book. I mean, he was basically endorsed by Tucker Carlson too. Uh, and yeah, I don't think like all these attacks have been made against him, like all the anti-Trump stuff. I don't really think that's gonna land that many voters, except for like the hardcore Trump voters, who are just like have a complete unwavering loyalty to this man. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. I'm actually not sure how long this video is, but I do hope you enjoyed this video. I will be having my camera on now for these videos. And if you like it, then yeah, of course, drop a comment. You can like and subscribe or share this video if you want. And yeah, I hope you all have an excellent day, and I will see you all in the next video. Farewell.